Hi, I'm Nairy from Bossing, and welcome to the Nightmare of Ashihama fight guide. In this video, I'll be showing you the 5-man version of the Nightmare of Ashihama, one of a series of fight guides I'll be releasing on the Nightmare. If you would like more information, click more info on the movie information box on YouTube to learn more. Also be sure to subscribe by clicking the subscribe button to the right to be automatically notified as we release new guides. This encounter is split up into 3 main phases with 2 transition phases, each of which will present you with different abilities and creatures to defeat. The Nightmare is highly resistant to ranged and magic attacks, but weak to melee crush weapons, so players should focus on gear with a high melee strength and high crush attack bonus to maximise their DPS on the Nightmare. Before the fight begins, players should each be assigned a corner to deal with during the transition phase, with the final team member floating. At the start of the fight, the Nightmare will select a target to attack, which is based on a combination of the player's defense level and defensive bonuses. The player who is targeted should focus on turning the boss away from the team, whilst the individual players should focus on moving to the sides or behind the Nightmare. The target the Nightmare chooses to focus on can change instantly, should either the target's defense level or defensive bonuses fall below any other players in the room. Throughout the fight, there are 4 core abilities that the Nightmare will use across each of the 3 main phases. The first is a range attack, which is signified by a jarring motion releasing spikes at everyone in the room. The second is a mage attack, which happens when the Nightmare spins around and releases pink orbs at everyone in the room. These 2 attacks are the most common attacks that the Nightmare will use. The third is an infrequent rapid charging melee attack in which the Nightmare swipes upward from the ground at anyone under or in melee range in front of the Nightmare. Each of the 3 attack styles can be protected against through prayers to significantly reduce the damage you take, or in the melee attacks case, you can also move 1 square away from the front of the boss to take no damage, though this is somewhat harder. The 4th and final core ability that the Nightmare uses is Grasping Claws. The Nightmare will reach into the ground and spawn a black portal underneath her, and reach up and through a series of smaller portals which spawn randomly around the room. If a player doesn't move from any portal they are standing in, they will take a high amount of damage. The first unique ability that the Nightmare uses during Phase 1 is spawning 4 husks, which attack 2 random players with low to moderate magic and range damaging attacks. The larger husk will attack with range only, whilst the smaller husk will attack with mage only. The husks have very low health and should be focused on by the DPS team. Whilst either of the husks are targeting the player will remain rooted in place and cannot move. It should be noted that if the Nightmare uses Grasping Claws, no black portals will spawn beneath the rooted player. The tank should also avoid dragging the boss over rooted players, as the Grasping Claw attack can still hit players that are underneath her. The second unique ability that the Nightmare uses during Phase 1 is Flower Power. The Nightmare will jump into the ground and spawn at the centre of the room, then split the room into 4 equal-sized quadrants. Only one of these quadrants will be safe, which can be identified by the white Nightmare flowers along 2 lines. The remaining 3 quarters will be unsafe once the red Nightmare berries bloom and spawn flies which begin to rapidly attack anyone still not in a safe zone, while also rapidly healing the Nightmare. The Nightmare will continue to use Flower Power and spawn husks throughout Phase 1 until the Nightmare's shield is down. Once the shield is down, 4 totems at the corner of the room will become active, which players should attack to charge up to full. Magic damage against the totems is doubled, so players are better off using their best magic DPS weapon or spell combination. In most cases this will be a powered stave such as the Tridents or Sanguinesti staff. Players should note that they have a 100% hit chance on the totems, so magic attack bonus gear is useless, unless it also has a damage modifier such as the Ancestral Robes or off pieces like the Occult Necklace or Tormentor Bracelet. Additionally, if players opt to use the Archaeus spellbook, they should only summon the magic attacking Ghostly Thrall, as its damage is also doubled, whilst the other 2 thralls is not. Once all 4 totems are charged to full, the Nightmare will be damaged for 800 health and the transition phase starts. The Nightmare will teleport to the centre of the room and spawn a total of 5 Sleepwalkers, 1 at each corner with an additional 1 spawning at 1 corner only. The Sleepwalkers will slowly move towards the Nightmare and players should kill their assigned Sleepwalker at their corner before it reaches the boss. If a Sleepwalker reaches the boss before you have time to kill it, the group will be damaged by the Nightmare in proportion to the number of Sleepwalkers that have reached the boss. If all 5 Sleepwalkers reach the Nightmare, the team will instantly wipe. Players should note that although the Sleepwalkers have only 10 health, Any damage you do to the Sleepwalker will count as a max hit, so players should take this opportunity to regenerate their health and prayer points with special attacks from weapons such as the Saradomin Godsword, Eldritch Nightmare Staff, or through abilities such as blood spells. Once the Sleepwalkers are dead, Phase 2 begins. In Phase 2, the Nightmare will change her 2 unique abilities for 2 others. The first change is Curse. When the Nightmare uses Curse, the player's screen will momentarily turn pink, then the player's overhead prayers will shift 1 to the right. So for example, clicking Protection from Magic will activate Protection from Missiles, and clicking Protection from Melee will activate Protection from Magic. This will last for 5 of the Nightmare's attacks, after which players' protection prayers will revert back to normal. The second unique ability that the Nightmare uses in Phase 2 is Parasites. In a 5-man team, the Nightmare will infect 2 random players with parasites, which after a short while will explode out of the player and deal a very high amount of damage unless the player uses a potion such as a Sanfew Serum or Relisium's Balm to significantly reduce the damage it deals. Once the parasite has spawned from the player, they will begin healing the Nightmare for a high amount of health, so players should quickly kill these while simultaneously avoiding standing under the boss in case the Nightmare uses Grasping Claws. If players fail to drink a dose of a potion such as Sanfew Serum or Relisium's Balm, the parasite spawn will be stronger and take longer to kill. The Nightmare will continue to use Curse and spawn parasites until the end of Phase 2. Once again, after the Nightmare's shield is down, players should begin to charge up the totems with magic attacks. If the Nightmare parasites are spawned whilst the players are charging the totems, the parasites will attack the totems and reduce the charge on 1 totem at a time. Players should continue to focus on charging the totems as the rate of damage that the parasites deal to the totems will be lower than the rate at which the players can charge the totems. Once all 4 totems are charged to full, the Nightmare will be damaged for 800 health and the last transition phase starts. Sleepwalkers will again spawn at the corners of the room, and players should kill these before they reach the Nightmare, and taking this opportunity again to regenerate their health and prayer points with the use of special attacks and blood spells. Now in the final phase, the Nightmare will again change her 2 unique abilities for new ones. The first change is Spores. Mushrooms will spawn around the room in one of 2 distinct patterns. If players stand on or are within 1 square of a mushroom, it will explode and infect the player, causing their attacks to become slower in addition to disabling and turning off their run for a short while. Players should note that the infection will spread to any other player within 1 tile of an infected player and will chain from player to player if stood together. The final unique ability that the Nightmare will use is Dash. The Nightmare will jump into the ground and teleport to one of 9 possible locations around the room. After a short while, the Nightmare will speed across the room, and if players are stood anywhere in this path, they will take a high amount of damage. Once the shield is down, players should finally charge up all 4 totems whilst avoiding mushrooms and the Nightmare dashes. Whoever is targeted by the Nightmare should avoid dragging the boss over other unsuspecting players who are infected, in case the Nightmare uses Grasping Claws, which is likely to not give the player under the boss enough time to move out. Although there appears to be a lot to learn and deal with, players should focus on learning the prayer switches for the Nightmare's standard attacks whilst maintaining a high health. If you would like to know more about this fight, video, or additional fights, click the Show More button at the bottom of this video for more information and subscribe to see future releases.